Comrades, thank you for organising this amazing event so beautifully. I'm inspired by everything I see here since I've arrived. On behalf of the platform, I want to read to you our statement. That this war drive is threatening Korea, Taiwan, and all of East Asia. That's everybody here. Despite the fact that NATO is clearly losing its proxy war in Ukraine, this impending defeat has not stopped the imperialists. They are accelerating preparations to try the same regime change strategy in Korea and in China. Just as Ukraine's army has for a decade been transformed into a proxy NATO force, and just as whole sections of the Ukrainian people have been groomed to accept a role as cannon fodder to be hurled in front of the Russian guns, so too are the people and armed forces in South Korea and Taiwan being prepared to act as proxy forces in US-led wars aimed at bringing down the governments and getting control of the territory of the DPRK and of China. In their bid to find proxy forces, the imperialists are not stopping at the borders of Korea or of China. They are doing everything in their power to turn the territory of neighbouring countries into military bases and the armies of those countries into backup proxy forces, just as we have seen them doing in Eastern Europe. As in Eastern Europe, so in East Asia, the imperialists are prepared for any number of people to die and any number of countries to go up in flames if they can only get their way. But why are these countries targeted? What is it that they have in common? They are targeted not because of their social systems, but because of their independence. Because they refuse to bow the knee to the imperialist financiers. They refuse to allow their people and their resources to be the subject of imperialist super-exploitation by Western corporations. They refuse to allow their economic and political life to be controlled by the CIA and the US State Department. Why is it that the imperialists are driving so desperately to war at this moment? People all over the world are aware, we know, that we are suffering a cost of living crisis that is impoverishing workers everywhere and the poorest the most. But there are relatively few who understand that our problems are the result of a recurring crisis in the global capitalist system, which is failing because it has impoverished the masses and left them unable to buy all the goods that their labour has produced. To try to save their failing banks and monopolies, the imperialists are printing money, and it is causing inflation not only in their own country, but all over the world. And they are driving to war as the last remaining means for taking hold of those territories that they are not presently able to loot for maximum profit. The history of the 20th century, comrades, shows us that the ultimate means for bringing back demand into the failing global economy is war, which first creates a massive demand for armaments and later creates a demand for reconstruction of all the products and infrastructure that have been destroyed by war. As far as the imperialists are concerned, war is also a convenient way of getting rid of large numbers of people who they consider to be surplus to requirements, since they cannot find useful work to give them. This is why our people are being asked to suffer and to fight, to save the economic system which keeps them poor and subjected, and to allow our exploiters to continue to grow rich off the back of their labour. There is only one way out of this death spiral. We must break the bonds of imperialist domination all over the world and replace the system of wage slavery with a system of planned production, where each nation's resources are owned collectively and used to meet the needs of the people rather than to make profits for a handful of billionaires, where peace and international cooperation between the peoples of the world take the place of competition and war. Standing here today, in the revolutionary city of Gwangju, on the very spot where so many brave martyrs gave their lives in the cause of Korea's still unfinished national liberation struggle. We cannot but be humbled and inspired by their brave actions and the great sacrifice in our shared cause. The best tribute we can pay to them is to pledge to continue their struggle until final victory. Uniting the widest possible forces to defeat the imperialists in the coming war is the first vital step we must take in the long march to freedom, liberation, and socialism for all. Death to the neo-Nazi NATO alliance and its criminal offspring in East Asia, the US, South Korea, and Japan trilateral alliance. Victory to Russia, to China, to the people of Korea in their just wars of self-defense and national liberation. Victory to the united forces of anti-imperialist resistance. Thank you, comrades.